We are on a mission tonight to obliterate Satan's schemes to destroy marriages. Anyone on board for that? Because I am not going to let this happen on my watch. And I'm hoping you're feeling the same way, that he's not going to get away with his insidious schemes to destroy marriages, to destroy relationships between fiancés. And I mean, he is out to rip apart families. And I used to think it was just Christian families, but I just think he wants to just destroy families, like, period, right? And so we are going to expose his schemes, and we're going to be vigilant and intentional about fighting against his schemes, doing whatever we can do. We can't do everything, but there are certain things we can do to fight against his schemes to destroy marriages through pornography and through real-life affairs. Porn use is staggering. It is absolutely staggering. Proven Men Ministries did some research recently. 2/3 of all U.S. men of all ages, up to 95 years old. Okay, so men of all ages, 2/3 of all U.S. men admit to viewing porn at least monthly, with the number of Christian men nearly equaling the same as unchristian men, non-believers. And according to a study reported in Psychology Today last year, among younger men, ages 18 to 35, I call that younger, for some of you it's like, but that's younger to me. 18 to 35-year-old men, 98% reported internet porn use in the last 6 months. Wow. For porn use within the last week, 80% of those same young men said yes, they've watched porn in the last week. 80%. And by the way, a huge number of women reported porn use as well. And here's the thing. This is not an innocent little activity. This causes gigantic problems, not just in a person's marriage, which it does, but a whole host of other problems as well. According to a study cited by the Family Research Council, habitual use of porn, that means regular use of porn, led most men to a greater tolerance of increasingly perverse material as they chase arousal, such as viewing sexual contact with animals and even sexual touch of children. Another study found that when viewing pornography rises to the level of an addiction, 40% of users lose their spouses. 58% suffer considerable financial losses. I know some of you in this room know about that. About 1/3 of porn addicts lose their jobs. Yet another study at Wayne State University found that porn use increased the rate of the user cheating on their spouse by over 300%. I'm not trying to frighten you with these statistics, but I am trying to get you to take this seriously. We all need to take this seriously. Porn use leads to real, actual affairs. We have to take it seriously. Now, all that being said, we're going to talk about some things that we can do to help prevent our husbands from using pornography, from having a real-life affair, but there's no guarantee that your action or my action is going to prevent our husbands from making these mistakes or from us making these mistakes. But these are helpful things that we can do. It would make him less likely to go that direction. So, in no particular order, 13 ways to help prevent your man from getting ensnared by pornography and or adultery. And I asked my husband his opinion on what he thought the biggest thing was. I just thought I'd see, right? And it's my number one thing I wrote down here. He said it's to continually show your husband that he's important and that you admire and respect him. He said that's number one. If you're looking to try to prevent a man from straying to pornography, straying to other women, he said, make sure that you make him feel that he's important and that you admire and respect him. And then that's probably no coincidence that the Bible gives a basic instruction to wives that the wife must respect her husband, Ephesians 5:33. Respect means both showing honor to your husband and really searching for good things about your husband that you can honestly admire and then telling him about those good things. A man who's respected by his wife is not as prone to wander in search of a woman who will admire him, right? So how do you show respect? It can be a multitude of things, but it could be little things like just turning to greet him when he comes home at the end of the day instead of ignoring him. It could be asking his opinion on things and actually, valuing his opinion and incorporating his opinion on things, which is maybe different than yours, and you're obviously right. No, maybe sometimes incorporating his opinion. Does he feel like you're for him? Do you do things that make him feel like you are actually for him? Does he come after everything else? You know, the kids, the chores, your mother, whatever. He's kind of like last on the list. Is that how you make him feel? He might gravitate then toward a woman who seems to admire him instead of treat him as like the last thing that she cares about. And by the way, even if he's sinning, you can still be respectful in the way you approach him, in your demeanor toward him, instead of rolling your eyes and giving that look of total disgust. Oh, you know, you disgust me. We can be respectful even if we're drawing boundaries. Okay, the second thing we can do, intentionally build an active sex life with your man and get him intoxicated with your love. That's right, intoxicated with your love. This is actually biblical. People on Facebook Live are like, what? Yeah, it is biblical. Here's the verse, Proverbs 5, starting in verse 18. May your fountain be blessed, and may you rejoice in the wife of your youth, a loving doe, a graceful deer. May her breasts satisfy you always. May you ever be intoxicated with her love. Yes, you're supposed to intoxicate your husband with your love. There's a reason why the Bible is very direct in instructing both husbands and wives to be available sexually to their mates. Listen to what 1 Corinthians 7 says. The husband should fulfill his marital duty to his wife. They're talking about sex here. And likewise, the wife to her husband. The wife's body does not belong to her alone, but also to the husband. In the same way, the husband's body does not belong to him alone, but also to the wife. Do not deprive each other except by mutual consent and for a time, so that you may devote yourselves to prayer. Then come together again so that Satan will not tempt you because of your lack of self-control. So if we're busy intoxicating our husbands with our love, he's not going to be so tempted if we are if we're filling up his sexual love tank, right? If we are filling that up. If that's an expression that I just made up. Okay, I think you get what I mean. If you're always too tired, too drained for sex, and I know a lot of young moms feel like, oh my goodness, someone else wants something from me, right? Maybe you can brainstorm with your husband some ways that you could be less tired and more available. Is it a matter of asking him if he can put the kids to bed tonight so that you'll be ready for him? Is it a matter of saying, hey, can you load the dishwasher after dinner and pack the kids' lunches? I don't think anyone's packing kids' lunches anymore, are they? But if your kids ever go to school again, can you pack the kids' lunches and give me a chance to take a bubble bath or something so that I can get ready for you? Because we all know for a woman, it's like mentally first, we kind of got to get in the mood, right? Be adventurous too. Don't be a boring sex partner. If your husband does not seem interested in sex, because increasingly I have more and more women come to me and say, it's not me that is the problem, my husband is not interested in sex. Investigate what the problem is, because it's not really normal. God did not create men to not desire sex, so what is going on? Investigate the problem. It could be medications that he's on. Maybe you need to talk to his doctor about a new medication. Maybe he's in a very physically demanding job and he's just exhausted and you guys need to come up with a plan so that he can get refreshed. Maybe he has resentment toward you and he's withholding sex as a punishment. I don't know. Pray and ask God to help you understand what's going on. And by the way, one of the main reasons a guy isn't interested in sex is because he's satisfying himself while viewing pornography. So that could also be what's going on. And then age plays a difference too. If he's 90 years old, I don't think they're quite as sexually active as when they're 20. I'm just thinking, I don't know from personal experience, but I'm just saying, I think that's probably likely. Okay, number 3. See a counselor if you have problems being a willing sexual partner for your husband. Just don't concede defeat in this area. It's so easy to just say, well, I'm scarred. That's my story of being sexually abused for many years. Some of you relate to that story. And it's easy to just think, well, I'm sexually scarred, and so he's just going to have to deal with the fact that he's never going to have sex again. Well, that's probably not a good recipe for your marriage. So go see a counselor. Do what you need to do. Don't concede defeat. And there are things you can do to get yourself in the mood. Buy sexy lingerie, light some candles. Think about, can I say this on Facebook Live? I'm just thinking of all the things I was just going to say that maybe I shouldn't be saying. Don't let your children watch this with you. Okay. Think about having an orgasm ahead of time. I just said that. I'm so glad none of my kids are here right now because I'm already blushing. But think about that ahead of time, because for women it starts up here, right? So just think about that ahead of time. Buy a sheepskin rug. We did that once. Okay. Number 4. I'm saying way too many things on Facebook Live. Hi. Okay. Well, anyway, this was a bad idea. Okay, number 4.
It's a good idea. Thank you.
Okay. If I get flagged for content or something on Facebook, I don't know. Anyway, Don't allow Satan an opening to connect you or your husband with someone of the opposite sex. So talk with your husband about setting firm boundaries for both of you, about never spending time alone with someone of the opposite sex, because this just leads to nothing good. It leads to nothing good. Romans 13:14 says, "Put on the Lord Jesus Christ and make no provision for the flesh to gratify its desires." I like that verse. Make no provision for the flesh. Give no opening for the lusts of the flesh. And I'm just telling you right now, from personal experience, sad to say, that Satan is very patient. He's very cunning and he's very patient. And he doesn't care if it takes him 20 years to ensnare you into an emotional affair with someone from work or your neighbor or your pastor or whatever. He will work at it tirelessly and ever so slowly that you hardly even know that anything's happening. This happened to me at a radio station that I worked at. I would be the last person on earth anyone would ever think would ever have an affair. I thought I was the last person on earth that would ever. I'm like a rule follower. Anyone that knows me, I'm like, I'm a rule follower. And yet, give Satan enough time and circumstances, and he can slowly connect you with someone of the opposite sex. Start talking about your day, start talking about how are you doing, how's your wife, how's your husband. Oh, that's too bad that your husband's like that. You deserve better than that. I know, I do deserve better than that. I like talking to you. And pretty soon you're emotionally connecting with this guy. Danger. Don't do that. Have firm boundaries for both you and your husband. Next, put effort into looking your best for your husband. Put effort into looking your best for your husband. I know this is kind of a duh, but I thought we needed to say it. If you need to exercise and lose weight, maybe think about doing that. How about wearing your hair the way he likes it, or wear clothes that he likes? If you only dress up around other people, what does that say to your husband? Like, I don't really care about you, I just wear sweats around you, but around other people I put on my makeup, and right? Do we want to look good for our husbands? Just saying. Number 6, look happy to see him when he comes home, and be playful and flirty with him often. Playful and flirty. Maybe surprise him with unexpected flirting. Keep him a little off balance with unexpected romance and sexual adventures. Keep him a little bit wondering, I wonder what's going to happen today when I come home from work, right? I know some of you, I'm trying not to look at anyone in the room, have told me of your escapades. Probably more information than I needed to know. But some of you have come up with really creative ideas, he comes home from work and you've shipped the kids off to the babysitters and you're standing there in the kitchen cooking with nothing on but an apron, and it's like, ooh. And see, your husband's going to be thinking about that for days and weeks. So keep him a little off balance with what could be happening next. That's exciting for him. Number 7, just say no to whining, nagging, and critical talk. Because who wants to be with a woman like that? I don't even want to be with a friend like that. I'm sure most husbands don't want to be with a wife like that. If you continually point out your husband's flaws, he will try to find another woman who sees something good in him. Now again, I'm not saying you ignore blatant sin. Even then, we approach him respectfully. But can you find some good things to admire in him? Can you resist pointing out flaw after flaw after flaw after flaw after flaw? Because if you do that, I can just about guarantee you he will subconsciously gravitate to any other woman at work, anywhere, who sees something good in him, because he's starved for that respect and affection and admiration. Proverbs 19:13, a quarrelsome wife is like the constant dripping of a leaky roof. Are you a leaky roof wife? Just asking. Number 8, if you suspect your husband is carrying unaddressed and significant emotional pain from his childhood, lovingly encourage him to seek Christian counseling. Because often this is why a guy gravitates to pornography, alcohol, drugs, gaming, anything, any addiction, is because he's usually trying to numb out from pain, from probably his childhood. Maybe it's time to lovingly come alongside and say, you know what? I love you too much to see you struggling in this area. I'll go with you to a counselor. Let's go find a good counselor that can help you process some of these old wounds from childhood. Number 9, purposely join your husband in some of his hobbies or activities. Men find this romantic. They do. That is not usually how women define romance. But did you know that most men think that doing an activity with their wife, other than sex, although I'm sure they would include that too, but doing something with their wife, they consider that romantic. So what could you join him in? He wants you to be his companion. Genesis 2:18, it is not good for man to be alone. I will create a helper suitable for him. So how can you join your husband and be his companion? My husband loves to go shopping. I know, isn't that weird? It's really weird. I actually hate shopping. So every once in a while, it's like, I'm going to Lowe's. You want to come along? Oh my gosh, stick an axe in my brain. I'd rather do that. You know, it's like I don't like going shopping, let alone to Lowe's or Home Depot or one of these hardware stores or whatever. And it's like, okay, but you know what? He wants to spend time with me. Men find doing things together romantic, so every once in a while I go to Lowe's and I try to pretend I'm having fun. Okay. Number 10, learn what is love languages and do it. Learn what is love languages and do it. If you've never done the love language assessment, you can just Google 5 love languages assessment, 5 love languages test. You can Google that. You do it, have your husband do it, find out what his love language is, and then start speaking that language. Number 11, and this is actually a pretty big one. Carry yourself with confidence and a little spunk and sex. A little spunk and sex. Men are drawn to women who have a backbone, and they actually grow bored with a woman who is a doormat. Did you know that? Did you know that if you're too kind and sweet and sappy and like a doormat, that he really has no respect for you? But if you were a little bit sassy and spunky, also respectful, but a little sassy and spunky, men are drawn to that. I mean, they're drawn to that kind of confident woman. Just saying. Number 12, pray for the right time to discuss men's common struggle with pornography. And ask him if he is struggling with it or has in the past. This is actually kind of huge because you heard the statistics earlier that most men, like 98% of all young men, are regularly viewing pornography. So the chances are pretty high if you have a young husband that he's viewing pornography. I'm just saying the chances are pretty high. So why not have that conversation? Pray for the right timing. Pray for the right words. Pray that the Holy Spirit would fill you at that moment and say, you know what, I understand that almost all men view pornography. And I would not be surprised if you viewed it. Can we just talk about it? Because I just want to, talk with you about it. And you can even say something like, I so much prefer honesty more than anything else. So I would rather have you tell me. That's so important that you be honest. I value that more than anything else. So just be honest with me and let's talk about it. At least then it's kind of out of the closet. The secret's out of the closet and you can actually have a discussion about it. And maybe come up with a battle plan for how you are going to deal with this. And then lastly, pray for your husband's purity. Pray for your husband's purity. Pray that the Lord would create in your husband a clean heart and renew a right spirit within him. That's actually Psalm 51:10. If you want to look it up, Psalm 51:10. But I'm convinced, I have a relative who had a lot of sexual sin in their lives, and I started praying this verse all the time. Like day after day, like week after week, like month after month, like year after year. I'm not even sure how many years I'm praying that verse, that God would create in this person a clean heart and renew a right spirit with them. All I'm just saying is, it finally happened. Prayer is powerful. This is one of your biggest weapons, right? So pray for your husband's purity. So that's your husband, but I would be remiss if I did not talk to us as women. Because for my own story, I know it's possible for even the strongest woman, the biggest rule follower woman, to get ensnared in an emotional affair or maybe a physical affair or pornography herself. So I wanted to give you 10 ways to protect against you falling into an emotional or physical affair. First of all, again, don't spend time alone with another man. And I know does this seem old-fashioned? I know that just seems old-fashioned. Like, come on, what are you talking about? I've had some pushback on this, I really have, from especially a lot of young women, like, I have lots of guy friends, and my best friends are guys, and they're married. And I'm like, you should not have best friends that are guys. And they're like, I'm not even attracted to him. Let me tell you, the guy that I had an affair with, I was not attracted to him. Initially. I was not attracted to him. He was everything I would not look for in a person. I'm just being serious without trying to be really derogatory, but Just nothing I would look for. Nothing I would look for. But see, Satan just like, if that person's listening to your story and seeming compassionate over months and years, that's all that's necessary for Satan to start to ensnare you in an emotional affair. He gets me. He understands me. And for a woman, that's like manna from heaven, that this person understands you. And pretty soon, I think he's my soulmate. It's all a delusion from the enemy. But take this seriously. Unless it's your brother, your father, your counselor, or your pastor, probably you should not be discussing your marriage with another man, and you shouldn't be very emotionally attached or close to another man other than your husband. Number 2, goes along with number 1, don't ever discuss your marriage with another man. Don't ever discuss your marriage with another man. I've had guys that attend the ministries here at The Way want to talk to me to get a woman's input about their wife. I don't do that. I would never do that unless my husband is present. Because even though it's totally innocent, I am not going to talk to a man about his marriage. Because you know what? And I'm nothing to look at here, but he's going to be like, oh, she's so sweet, and she gets it, and she's so compassionate. Like, no, I'm not going to allow the devil to get that connection going. So don't discuss your marriage with any other man. Don't listen to another man about his marriage problems. Are you getting the drift here? It's just dangerous. If you don't believe me, just go full steam ahead and come back to me about 10 years and tell me how that worked out for you. Because I'm just saying, the enemy will ensnare you. Number 3, you can tell I'm on a wavelength here. Do whatever you can to avoid working in a close partnership with a man. I know some of you are thinking she's so old-fashioned. Okay, you can think that if you want. I just know from personal experience how this goes. So here's again my story. And this is duplicated among pastors and their assistants or secretaries. For me, I worked in close partnership in a news studio at a radio station with this guy that I ended up having an affair with. We're in close partnership. We're working together. We have triumphs together. We mess up and blunder a news story we're working on together. It's like this partnership thing is very, very bonding. Very bonding when you work in close partnership with a guy. That's why sometimes you hear about these pastors having an affair with some frumpy secretary. You're like, why would he have an affair with her? It's because they're working in close partnership, kind of that feeling like us against the world. It's very bonding and very, very dangerous. So just be careful about that. Okay, number 4. We'll move on to a different topic here. Be careful about watching romantic comedies and reading romance novels. Even Christian romance novels, even Christian romantic comedies, because they can give you this false illusion about romance and marriage. And all of a sudden you're pining away for what they have. And what would they have? And their man never farts. Their man never, it's like, it's like this perfection, the Hallmark story. Yes, I just said fart on Facebook Live too. I'm just on a streak here, boy. But you know what I mean? It's like this, it's this illusion, it's a fantasy. No one has a marriage like that, where the guy is always heroic and goes out and slays dragons, but he's so gentle and romantic with her. It's like, this is not real. This is not real. So be careful about watching too many romantic comedies, which, by the way, have you ever noticed in the romantic comedies, almost always, the lady is with the one guy who is the man of integrity, but then she realizes that her true soulmate is the forbidden fruit guy that's over here, and so she breaks up with the guy of integrity because she's really supposed to be with the soulmate over here. Like, see how that starts to play with our heads, and we're like, I think I married the wrong man. My soulmate is over there. I must get rid of this trash here and go for my true soulmate. Dangerous. Okay, number 5. Explain to your husband a woman's need to share about her day and her feelings, and ask him to carve out even just 5 minutes of talk time every evening where you can just talk together. Because you need to connect with your man, or you'll be tempted to connect with another man. Women need that, right? I'm pretty sure I'm preaching to the choir here, but we need to have that kind of emotional connection and be able to talk about our day a little bit and how we felt and our triumphs and our hurdles, and we just need to have that little bit of talk time. explain that to your husband. And even just 5 minutes can be pretty satisfying to just say, can we just have 5 minutes every night where I can just kind of tell you a little bit about my day and you just listen. And if you don't have him as a listener, someone that you can talk about your feelings in your day, you will be tempted more to find someone who will listen, especially if it's a guy. And so, again, be careful that you don't connect with that other guy, but ask your husband to be that one that is the listener for you. Number 6, confront the issues in your marriage that have started to cause you to resent your husband. This is huge. I think we all know that resentment will pretty much kill off a marriage. Hebrews 12:15, see to it that no one falls short of the grace of God and that no bitter root grows up to cause trouble and defile many. So if you sense that you are starting to really resent your husband, it's time to do something about it. Think of that as a red alert button, beep, beep, beep. If you're starting to resent, you need to address that. You need to address that right away. It might mean sitting down with your husband and talking through those issues with him and saying, this is how I'm feeling. Can we talk this through and come to some kind of resolution on this area where I've just been feeling like it's all your way and not my way, or whatever the issue is. Maybe you need to see a counselor, but do whatever it takes, because if you do not address the resentment, you will start searching for another man. You'll start searching for another man. It might be subconsciously, but you'll start searching for a better man out there. Number 7, if you're married to a man with a strong personality, who is maybe even a bit controlling, be careful that you don't cater so much to your husband that you lose your own identity and lose your joy. There's a balance that's necessary in marriage, and it's kind of a dance. It's tricky, this balance, right, where the two become one. I'm supposed to respect my husband. All those things are true, and yet I'm still a separate individual that has my own feelings, my own needs. I get to be a person. I'm not supposed to just so cater to my husband that I lose myself and lose my joy. Proverbs 4:23, above all else, guard your heart, for it is the wellspring of life. And if you feel like that's you, that you sort of lost yourself, where he's become everything and you're kind of nothing, that's probably a time for you to go see a counselor, spend some time in prayer, ask the Lord to show you how to have a better balance in your life. Number 8, be intentional about fun in your marriage. Be intentional about fun in your marriage. Find fun things to do together. Make sure you guys laugh a lot. That is so bonding. Isn't it bonding when you're having fun with your husband? It's kind of like, I really like being with him. And if you're never having fun, it's like, I don't really like being with him. So it's like, this is something we can do. This is not like rocket science, to find some fun things to do. Proverbs 17:22, a cheerful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones. Number 9, do not check out past boyfriends or ex-husbands on Facebook. Don't do it. I did not bring the research with me, but I remember looking at a study that said how many times the word Facebook was mentioned in divorce proceedings in the paperwork for dissolution of marriage, and it was astounding how many times Facebook was mentioned. Because what happens innocently, it all starts out innocently. Innocently, haven't you ever wondered, all of you in the room, all of you on Facebook Live, haven't you ever wondered, I wonder whatever happened to my old boyfriend from high school or my ex-husband or whatever. And so innocently, you just check them out. And then you're like, oh, maybe I'll just send a message saying, hi, I hope you're doing well. It seems like you have a great family. And then they message you back. And then they ask about your family. And pretty soon you're chatting. And it's kind of titillating, kind of fun. And it's like, and pretty soon, after months go by, you think, I should be with him, because you've forgotten all the horrible things about this person, and you're like, I should be with him. Don't go there. Do you know that guy that I had the affair with, like, how many years ago that was, like 20 years ago or something, he actually sent me a Facebook friend request 2 weeks ago.
Good.
Isn't that just crazy? Isn't that just like the devil? Just like, I just think, it'd be 20 years or 18 years, whatever it's been. I haven't heard from this person, I don't want to hear from this person. It's like, what? A Facebook friend request. And if that wasn't enough, followed by a direct message, hi, I miss you. Really? So Sarah, my good friend over there, said, block him! And it was good. For me to bring that out right away and tell someone right away, so that the devil could not get any wiggle room. Because the devil is so sneaky. If I would have not told Sarah or someone, and I told my husband too, which was tricky because he gets really upset about these things. It's like, where is he at? But calm down, honey. I blocked him. But anyway, I lost my train of thought right there. But if I would not have told someone, that's just a playground for the enemy. Because don't you think that that person's face came to my mind several times, several days after that? I'd be like, it plays with your brain. It plays with your brain. Don't give the devil any wiggle room. I have been tempted to look up my ex-husband. I don't know why, because I was even tempted, years ago to look up this old guy. I can't, that kind of a thing. Like, I hope he's having a horrible life, which is really not a good attitude anyway. But it's like, no, I will not do that. I'm asking you to do the same thing. Have self-control and self-discipline in this area. Do not, do you hear me now? Do you hear me on Facebook Live? Do not look up old boyfriends or old ex-husbands on Facebook. Just say no.